The bedroom door crashed open, busting up the silence like a damn shotgun blast. I shot up from the mattress, my heart hammering in my chest, totally thrown off by sleep, as Ashley, my wife, charged in, her mascara running down her cheeks like black rivers, hair all over the place, gripping her phone like it was a loaded gun. "You're a sorry excuse for a man," she screamed, her voice shaky with pure rage and disgust. "What, you thought you could embarrass me like this and get away with it?" Still groggy and confused as hell, I just gawked at her, trying to wrap my head around why she was so pissed. "Ashley, what's going on? It's 2 in the freaking morning. You sent that nasty text to Adam's wife," she snapped, chucking her phone right at me. It smacked my chest and flopped onto the bed, screen up, lighting up the dark room with a glow that showed texts I'd never laid eyes on before. My pulse kicked into overdrive as I peeked down, spotting steamy back and forths between Ashley and Adam, this dude she'd always sworn was just some guy from work. My gut churned like I'd been punched. Those messages spilled out everything: secret hookups at hotels, late-night whispers, her griping about how our marriage was dead in the water. The worst part? She straight up trashed me, calling me her worthless, clueless husband like I was some kind of joke. It hit me like a ton of bricks, I couldn't believe it. "You've been screwing around on me," I choked out, my voice sounding empty and far away. Ashley let out this cold, nasty laugh that sliced right through me, stinging my soul. "Screwing around? Michael, you barely even count as a husband. What we've got doesn't deserve to be called a marriage." The way she sneered at me, it was like a slap in the face, shredding whatever pride I had left. Fury and shame lit my veins on fire, I couldn't even catch my breath. Adam, man, the same guy who'd grinned and shook my hand at every company Christmas party, who I'd had over for burgers in our backyard. The betrayal made me want to puke. "How long's this been going on?" I barked, squeezing her phone so tight it bit into my hand. Her eyes turned to slits, and her tone dripped with poison. "Does it even matter?" "All right, fine," it kicked off when I figured out what a pitiful weakling you are. "Adam, at least, knows how to treat a woman right." Those words cut deep, dragging every doubt I'd ever had about myself right into the open. Anger flared up, hot and fierce, wrestling with this heavy, crushing hurt inside me. I stepped toward her, not even sure if I wanted to demand more or just yell my lungs out. "Why didn't you just walk out on me? Why?" She closed the gap, her voice dropping to this venomous hiss. "Because I got a kick out of watching you act like everything was peachy, you dumbass. You really thought splashing cash on gifts and eating up my bullshit made you some dream husband. You make me sick." That brutal honesty hit like a sledgehammer. The woman I'd fallen for, trusted, and said, "I do, too." She was nothing but a cold-blooded liar. I froze there, feeling the whole life I'd built crumble under my feet. "Get the hell out," I snarled, my own voice sounding foreign to me. Ashley cocked her head, all smug and challenging. "Oh yeah? And what'll you do if I don't?" "Nothing, like always, you're too gutless, Michael." That pent-up rage exploded, and before I knew it, I was yanking her bags out of the closet and tossing them across the room like a madman. Her stuff flew everywhere, a total mess that matched the wreck I'd become. I said, "Get out." Her eyes popped wide for a second, stunned, but then she hid it behind that frosty, don't care attitude. "You're gonna wish you hadn't done this, Michael. I'll turn your life into a living nightmare, just wait." "Ashley," I growled, the sting of her betrayal pumping strength into me, "you've already made it hell." She smirked, letting out this mocking cackle, snatched her coat, and stormed off, slamming the door so hard it echoed through the hollow space she left. I dropped onto the bed, my chest heaving like I'd run a marathon, my head spinning with hurt, fury, and disbelief. Then my phone buzzed out of nowhere, jolting me back. A text popped up on the screen. It was Natalie, Adam's wife. "We gotta talk." I've got something you need to see. My whole world was falling apart, and it looked like the craziness was just kicking off. I stared at Natalie's message, blank and numb, wondering if I could even handle digging deeper into this mess. My heart was pounding hard, every thump ringing with Ashley's cruel words. Natalie always struck me as this gentle, soft-spoken lady, nothing like Ashley, who's got venom running through her veins. So when she texted me out of the blue, I knew something heavy was bubbling up under the surface, something big. Even with this sick feeling chewing at my gut, I shot back a reply, my shaky fingers fumbling over the keys. Where and when? Her answer came fast, short, sharp, and loaded with urgency. Now. Hit the diner on 8th Street. You've got to hear it all. I snagged my keys and staggered out of the house, which already felt like some empty shell haunted by the fake life I'd pictured, a marriage that turned out to be a total sham. The drive dragged on forever, every streetlight throwing shadows that messed with my head, hissing Ashley's nasty digs at me over and over. How'd I let all this slip by me? Was I really that clueless? When I rolled into the diner's dim parking lot, I clocked Natalie right away, tucked into a corner booth, looking jittery as hell. Her eyes were puffy and red, her face all washed out, and her coffee sat there cold, untouched. I slid into the seat across from her, and the air got thick with this awkward quiet until she finally opened up. "Michael, I'm so sorry, you didn't deserve any of this," she murmured, her voice wobbly. That soft honesty of hers just twisted the knife deeper in my chest. "So what went down?" I asked, my voice coming out all flat and tight. She sucked in a big breath, like she was gearing up for a fight with herself. "They've been sneaking around for months. Adam kept strolling in late, feeding me lame excuses about extra hours at work, but I started getting this bad vibe. Last night, I tailed him." She paused, her eyes dropping with this guilty look. "Caught him at the Parkside Hotel, I saw it all go down. Ashley spotted me, got right in my face, and warned me that if I spilled to you, she'd torch my marriage too. But I couldn't just let her slide, not after this." Imagining Ashley throwing threats at someone else's life like that turned my stomach. How could I have ever been head over heels for her, built a whole world with someone that heartless? Did Adam even open his mouth? I asked, my voice weak as I tried to keep it together. Natalie shook her head, a bitter edge creeping in. "Nope, he just stood there like a spineless jerk. Ashley was yelling her head off at me, saying she didn't give a damn if you found out, 'cause you'd never grow a pair to deal with it. She was dead sure she could shut me up." My hands balled into fists without me even thinking about it. Ashley had ripped every bit of respect I had to pieces, stomping all over my pride. The anger was choking me, but underneath it, there was this deep, aching sadness I couldn't shake. My brain started replaying stuff I'd brushed off, Ashley waltzing in late, the way she'd hover over her phone like it was top secret, that whiff of some strange perfume clinging to her clothes. "How long have you been onto this?" I asked, already bracing for an answer I didn't want to hear. Natalie stalled for a second, her eyes heavy with sorry. "About 6 months. I had a hunch way before that, but nothing solid till lately. Adam got all weird, cagey, distant. He shifted, same as Ashley did. 6 months. It didn't even feel real, half a year of her lying to my face, flashing fake smiles, me sleeping next to someone who was laughing at me behind my back." My throat clamped up, and I could feel tears itching to break loose. "Michael, I get how bad this stings, but there's more. It's not just the cheating," Natalie said slow, her eyes soft with pity but nervous about what was coming next. I steeled myself, but man, nothing could have prepped me for her bombshell. "Ashley told Adam she's pregnant. She's gonna spin it to everyone like it's yours, but it's his kid. She's banking on boxing you in, or at least leaning on you, till she sorts out her next move with him." All the air got sucked out of me. A baby, Adam's baby. The sheer nerve of her was unreal, cruel in a way that took my breath away. I'd always pictured us having a family someday, but not like this, God, never like this. My eyes went blurry, and I scrambled to hold it together. How'd I not see any of this coming? I mumbled, dropping my face into my hands, the shame mixing with this raw, bitter anger. Natalie stretched her hand across the table, giving mine a soft little pat. You were in love with her, Michael, that's not something to be ashamed of. The real flaw's on her end, she never deserved a guy like you. Her gentle words sank in, and that's when I lost it. Tears started scorching their way down my cheeks, this mix of heartache and embarrassment smashing through me like a wrecking ball. She slid a napkin my way without a word, just letting me sit there with her quiet kindness. After what felt like forever, I mopped my face, pulling myself back together. So what's your next move? She asked, her voice low and careful. That question hit me like a ton of bricks. What the hell was I supposed to do? Face Ashley head on, demand some straight answers, or just cut the cord with a divorce right then and there? Every choice felt like a kick in the teeth, unbearable in its own way. My whole life had come apart so fast I didn't even know which way was up anymore. I haven't figured it out yet, I confessed, feeling beat down, but one thing I know for sure, I'm not letting her yank my chain anymore. Natalie gave me a slow, serious nod. No matter what you pick, you've got me in your corner. Her support felt real, solid, not like the hollow crap Ashley used to feed me. Walking out of that diner, the mess of my broken life was weighing on me heavy, pressing down on my shoulders like a physical thing. But under all that hurt, I could feel something else stirring, grit, a spark of fight. Ashley had laid out her hand, smug as hell, thinking she'd always have me under her thumb, but she'd misjudged me big time. Her threats were blowing up in her face, and karma was barreling in fast and hard. The drive home that night was like wading through thick, choking fog that wouldn't quit. My head kept looping Ashley's viciousness, every cutting word, every poisonous jab she'd thrown at me, stuck on repeat. Then Natalie's bombshell piled on top, the pregnancy, Adam's kid. Ashley was scheming to lock me into her web of bullshit, keeping me as her fallback while she ran after some other guy. Every red light I hit glowed brighter, like it was laughing at how blind I'd been, rubbing it in my face. When I pulled into the driveway, my stomach did a flip. Ashley's car was sitting there, parked like she owned the place. She'd come back, probably betting I'd cave, brush it all off, and let her twist me around her finger again. But that old me? He was gone, her betrayal had put a bullet through him. Stepping inside, I felt my skin crawl. There she was, lounging in the living room, legs crossed all cocky-like, sipping wine as if the world hadn't just flipped upside down. Well, hey there, sweetie, she drawled, dripping with sarcasm. Natalie been spinning more sad little stories in your head? I locked my jaw tight, holding myself back. You've been lying through your teeth about everything. You stabbed me in the back with Adam, and now you're pregnant, and you think I'll just roll with it? Her eyes popped wide for a split second, shocked, before they sharpened into this furious glare. That sneaky little snitch spilled it all, huh? And you're dumb enough to buy it? Save it, I shot back, ice in my voice as I stepped closer. I read your texts myself, you think I'm that big of an idiot? Ashley snorted, brushing it off with that toxic tone of hers creeping back. Alright, yeah, I stepped out, so what? You quit being a real husband ages ago, Michael. You're a weak, boring loser. Adam lit a fire in me again, can you really fault me for that? Her flat-out confession hit harder than I'd braced for, cutting me deep. I swallowed the lump in my throat. What about the kid? I pressed, dying to see if she'd cough up even one honest word. Her eyes flickered with surprise for a moment before she plastered on that lying mask again. Oh, it's yours, obviously, come on, you know I wouldn't. Stop it. I roared, my voice quaking with fury. Enough with the damn lies, Natalie laid it all out. Your little scheme's falling apart, Ashley. Her glare turned lethal, and the act finally cracked wide open. Fine, she spat, venom seething as she got up to square off with me. Yeah, it's Adams. But here's the deal, Michael, you're gonna keep your mouth shut and back me up on this, or I'll make damn sure your life's a wreck. Go ahead and threaten me one more time, Ashley, I said, low and steady, my resolve locking into place, and see where it lands you. Her lips curled into this ugly, hateful smirk. Divorce me, and I'll drain you with alimony. I'll suck you dry, money, emotions, everything. You think you're in pain now? Just wait till I'm through with you. Right then, it clicked. Ashley wasn't just some scorned wife, she was a cold, scheming woman hellbent on tearing me down for kicks. My spine stiffened with resolve. Go ahead and give it your best shot, I told her. I'd rather be broke and broken than spend one more second stuck in your warped mess. For a heartbeat, real shock flickered in her eyes, but she buried it fast under that smug little smirk. Oh, we'll see who's right, she snapped, then bolted upstairs, banging doors behind her, the sound of her spite ringing in the air. Left by myself again, it felt like the room was squeezing in tight, this heavy sorrow clawing at my chest. But under that ache, something tougher was brewing, pure, stubborn grit. Sure, she'd smashed my trust to bits, but I was done playing her punching bag. The days after that blurred into a haze of sleepless nights, this eerie quiet that hurt to breathe in, and a tension so thick I could choke on it. I got on the phone with lawyers, started piling up paperwork, and tried to steel myself for the fight ahead. Meanwhile, Ashley kept up her two-faced act, flashing fake grins out in the world but hissing poison when it was just us, working overtime to turn our buddies against me. Thing is, her game started falling apart faster than she'd bet on. Then one night, everything flipped again. I was jolted out of a fitful doze by this wild knocking at the door. When I yanked it open, there was Ashley, standing there all rattled, her usual cockiness swapped out for straight-up panic. Her eyes were huge, brimming with terror and desperation. Michael, you've gotta help me, please, she stuttered, trembling like a leaf as she reached for me. I took a quick step back on instinct. What's going on now? It's Adam, she hissed, voice frantic and low. Natalie threw him out after digging up proof. He's pinning it all on me, went totally off the rails, Michael. He's threatening me, and he's unhinged. Part of me twisted up inside, this old urge to shield her still kicking despite everything she'd done, but another part was howling with this dark satisfaction. Karma had finally tracked her down. Her own threats had swung right back at her like a boomerang. So you figured I'd be your go-to-savior? I asked, my tone cold as ice. She blinked at me, thrown off, like she couldn't process why I'd say no. Michael, come on, I'm still your wife. Oh, did that cross your mind while you were snickering behind my back? I shot back, months of bottled-up rage fueling every word. You did your damnedest to wreck my life, Ashley, and now you're begging me to fix yours? Her face just fell apart, that tough mask crumbling away. Michael, please. I backed up more, my glare turning hard as stone. Handle it yourself, I'm through. I shut the door solid, her sobs fading off into the dark as I stood there. In that quiet, it hit me, I wasn't the pushover here, she was. Getting stabbed in the back sucks, but every now and then, justice sneaks up right when you're not looking. That night, sleep was a no-show. Instead, I wore a path in the floor pacing, Ashley's panicked begging looping in my brain. Seeing her so frantic gave me a quick jolt of payback, but it faded fast into this empty, hollow feeling. What had happened to my life? All I had left was bitterness and this dead silence, broken only by the ghosts in my head rattling around. Come morning, I was dragging from exhaustion when my phone started buzzing like crazy. I ignored it at first, but finally peeked at the screen, 3 missed calls and a bunch of texts from Adam's number. My pulse kicked up, this uneasy vibe crawling up my back. Reluctantly, I tapped open his message, every word searing into my mind. We gotta talk. Meet me solo. Right now. It felt like some messed up movie scene, not my life. Adam, the guy who'd snatched everything I cared about, was reaching out for more. Anger and nosiness duked it out in my gut as I hit redial, readying myself for whatever came next. Michael, Adam's voice came through shaky, almost like he was begging. I know this is screwed up, believe me, I'm not proud of any of it. You trashed my marriage, Adam, I snapped. What else could you possibly want from me? There was this long, heavy pause, his breathing rough, before he went on, quieter now. Ashley's been lying to your face. She played us both. Months back, she swore she was ditching you, but when I told her I wasn't leaving Natalie, she flipped out, threatened to tank my whole life. I screwed up bad, Michael, but she's a loose cannon. I let out this sharp, bitter chuckle. What, you think I'm gonna feel sorry for you? You teamed up with her to rip my whole world apart. No, hold up, she played us both like fools, Adam pushed back, his voice dripping with desperation. Those screenshots you saw. Not some fluke, she sent them herself, betting you'd lose it and make a mess. Ashley wanted Natalie gone, and she figured shaming us both was her ticket. His words threw my brain into a tailspin, piling on more confusion. Was Ashley really that slick, that downright evil? Suddenly, her venom and spite clicked into place, but it didn't let Adam off the hook, not by a long shot. So why spill this now? I barked. Because this morning, Ashley got on the phone with Natalie, Adam answered, his tone tight and frayed. She told her she's pregnant, said I was dumping Natalie for her. Natalie's a wreck, she booted me out. Ashley's screwing with everybody, Michael. My hand clamped harder around the phone, shock morphing into this icy rage. She'd turned lies into a weapon again, aiming to torch 2 homes this time. Adam was flailing, practically pleading for us to team up against her madness. He kept rambling, his panic ramping up, but my fury solidified into something solid. Clean up your own damn mess, I cut in, slicing him off mid-sentence. You two are made for each other. I hung up fast, dropping into a chair with a thud, my head reeling. Ashley's schemes cut deeper than I'd ever guessed, but even so, part of me was still gutted over the woman I used to love. How'd I miss all the red flags? How'd I let myself get so blind to her backstabbing? Later that day, worn out from the emotional grinder, I started boxing up Ashley's stuff. Every picture, every little keepsake, every trace of the life we had stung my hands like hot coals. Her shirts, her necklaces, everything felt dirty, toxic. I chucked it all into the hallway, my heart slamming in my chest, each beat mixing sharp hurt with a weird kind of relief. Then, out of nowhere, a car door banged shut outside, followed by quick, stomping steps. The front door burst open, Ashley again, her face twisted up in pure rage. You're tossing my things out, she screeched. You spineless little worm. Grab your junk and go, I said, voice flat and cold, planting myself in her way. I'm finished with you running my life. Oh, you think you've come out on top? She cackled, wild and unhinged, her eyes blazing with loathing. You're a nobody without me, you'll come crawling back, just wait. My jaw locked tight, fighting the itch to yell right back. She clocked my silence, and it only cranked her fury higher, pushing her to the edge. She lunged at the wall, snatched a framed photo of us, and smashed it on the floor. This is you, Michael, smashed, useless, pitiful, she shrieked, grinding her heel into the broken glass. I just stood there, staring at her, this odd calm settling over me while she raged. She was unraveling, spiraling fast into some kind of craziness. Every nasty word she spat stripped away the hold she used to have, leaving me with nothing but pity and revulsion. You're the one who broke us, Ashley, this is all on you, I said, steady and unshaken. There's nothing left for you to ruin. For a second, her swagger vanished, swapped out for this frantic, wide-eyed look. She scanned me, hunting for some crack to dig into, but came up empty. Then she pulled herself up, chin jutting out defiantly. "You're gonna wish you hadn't done this," she growled, spinning on her heel. She stormed out, glass crunching under her shoes, and I took a deep breath, this strange freedom washing over me even though my world was in pieces. I'd finally slipped out from under her toxic claws, but man, the price was steep. My marriage was toast, my trust was shot, and my heart was scarred for good. There I was, standing in the middle of the wreckage, bits of the life I used to treasure scattered around me, and I knew the path ahead was gonna hurt like hell. But for the first time, I was calling the shots, not just some piece in Ashley's sick little chess game. What came next? No clue, but one thing was dead certain: her threats had blown up in her face, handing her the payback she had coming. Karma had rolled in, and it was only warming up. After Ashley's big, messy exit, the weeks that followed turned my place into some kind of deserted wasteland, just an empty husk echoing with the ghosts of our fights and all those jagged memories. Every spot I looked at screamed reminders of the bullshit we'd lived. Her perfume still hung in the air, choking me, mocking me every time I breathed it in. Nights turned into pure hell, with my brain stuck on repeat, replaying every damn thing over and over. Getting any shot I felt like chasing a mirage. Days just melted into each other, one after the next. Then one afternoon, right when I was starting to think I could maybe handle life again, my phone gave this harsh buzz. Ashley's name popped up. Yep, her again. I nearly let it slide, my gut twisting up on reflex, but that nosy part of me won out. "What now?" I snapped, answering with a chill in my voice, braced for her usual manipulative crap. But she sounded different, shaky, urgent, her normal smugness swapped for flat-out panic. "Michael, I'm begging you, I need you right this second." That desperate edge threw me off. Even though I knew better, I kept listening. Her breaths came quick and ragged. "I'm in deep shit, serious trouble," she whispered. "Adam lost it. He showed up here, blaming me for wrecking his life, his marriage. He's gone off the deep end, Michael. He's threatening me, and I'm terrified." I froze up, stuck between this bitter grin inside and that old pull to keep her safe, even after all she'd done. Knowing she might really be in danger poked at something buried in me, a faint shadow of the love I used to have. But then I snapped myself back. This was Ashley, the same one who'd stomped all over me without a second thought. "Dial the cops," I told her, keeping my voice even but frosty. "This ain't my fight anymore." Her voice broke, turning wild and pleading. "Michael, please, he's still out there, lurking. He won't go away, he's unhinged. I'm on my knees here, help me." For a flash, those old habits tugged hard, wanting to shield her, feeling like I owed her something, but the memory of her ruthless stabs flooded in, snuffing that out quick. "You dug this hole," I said, cool and steady. "Climb out of it yourself." I cut the call sharp, my heart racing like crazy. Guilt hit me like a wave right after, slugging it out with this righteous anger. I kept telling myself she had it coming, karma was cashing in her tab. Still, a tiny piece of me squirmed, unsure and unsettled. Right then, my phone blew up again. This time it wasn't Ashley, it was Natalie. I picked up slow, that sinking dread creeping back in. "Michael," Adams flipped his lid, she cried, her voice a frantic mess through sobs. "He's at your house. He said he's gonna finish things with Ashley for good. I think he's got a gun. I'm calling the cops now." My blood went cold as ice. Ashley had screwed me over royally, but picturing her in real danger shook me to my core. Without even thinking, I bolted for my car, my pulse hammering, guilt and fury twisting up tight in my chest. When I got to my old place, it was a total madhouse, cop cars clogging the street, blue lights slicing through the dark, bouncing off the stunned faces of neighbors. My heart was pounding harder, panic swelling up fast. I shoved my way through the crowd and spotted Ashley next to a cop, a blanket draped over her, her face pale and shaky. She caught sight of me, and her eyes popped with this mix of shock and relief. Off to the side, Adam was in cuffs, yelling his head off at the officers, his voice raw with hate and desperation. His wild glare locked onto mine, burning with this unhinged rage and blame. She's the one who did this. She ruined it all. Ashley's face, streaked with tears, was tough to read as our eyes met. For the first time, she looked rattled, honest to God scared. I stepped closer, forcing my voice to stay steady even though I was a mess inside. "You all right?" I asked, stiff, still wrestling with the resentment bubbling under the surface. She gave a weak nod, her voice so soft I barely caught it. "Michael, I'm so sorry, for all of it." For a second, her eyes had this realness, almost like she was laid bare, but all her old lies loomed big, impossible to shake off. "What the hell happened here?" I asked, swinging my gaze to the cop. He gave me this look, kind but heavy. "The guy, Adam Walker, rolled up with a weapon, making threats against your wife. He's pointing the finger at her for tanking his marriage, his job. Lucky for everyone, a neighbor dialed us up before he could do anything too crazy." I choked down a lump in my throat as the truth slammed into me. Ashley's reckless decisions had snowballed into real danger, dragging everyone around her into the mess. That smug, untouchable look she used to wear was gone, now her face was painted with raw fear and something like regret. The cops hauled Adam off, wrists locked in cuffs, a broken shell of a man, but he was still hollering like a lunatic, his eyes wide and burning with hate. "She trashed everything. She's gonna drag you down too, Michael, run while you've got the chance." His shouts bounced around long after the squad car doors banged shut. Ashley flinched hard, inching toward me like it was second nature, but I backed off quick, feeling this gulf between us. "You made this disaster, Ashley," I said, my voice low, not mad anymore, just bone-tired. "Deal with it." She was shaking, her eyes begging for some kind of pity she hadn't earned. "Michael, I didn't mean, cut it," I snapped, sharp and final. "We both know you meant every damn thing you said." I turned my back, done staring at her wrecked self. She wasn't that slick, controlling woman I used to know anymore, just a busted-up figure, stranded in the shitstorm she'd whipped up. As I drove off, my hands were jittery on the steering wheel. This whole mess had gotten way more tangled than I'd ever pictured, the fallout stretching further than I could have guessed. But right then, I felt this weird relief wash over me, finally seeing clear as day that my life with Ashley was dead and buried. She'd dug her own pit, and Adam had tumbled right in with her. I was free to pick up the pieces, banged up but smarter, hell-bent on not screwing myself over like that again. Still, something nagged at me, this wasn't the end. Ashley's threats had blown up in her face big time, but the wreckage she'd left behind wasn't done settling, and karma wasn't finished dishing out its payback. The days crawled by after that, each one heavy with this lingering unease and the ghostly aftershocks of Ashley's betrayal. Word got out fast, the news twisted my life into juicy headlines, "Love triangle goes nuts," they blared. My personal hell turned into everybody's chit-chat, neighbors muttering under their breath when I stepped outside, pals dodging my gaze, not sure what to even say. But in the middle of that chaos, one thing cut through the noise. An email from Ashley's lawyer, all official-like, divorce papers. Even after everything, she was gunning for cash, alimony, half my stuff, everything I'd busted my ass to build. Fresh anger flared up hot in my chest. This chick had torched our marriage, cheated right in my face, put us both in harm's way, and now she wanted a paycheck for it? No way was I letting her walk over me again. I called up the meanest divorce lawyer I could track down. Those meetings were rough, every little detail ripping open the gash Ashley had carved into me. Weeks slogged on, and I'd catch glimpses of her across sterile conference room tables, her lawyer yapping away like she was still the one who'd been wronged. That cocky stance of hers pissed me off something fierce, but under it, I spotted something different, fear creeping in. She could tell her grip was slipping, her perfect little plot caving in under all her screw-ups. Ashley wasn't gonna go down without a fight, though. Then one afternoon, Natalie's panicked voice broke through my shaky stab at getting back to normal. "Michael, Adam's out on bail," she warned, her tone wound tight with worry. "He's a loose cannon, blaming Ashley, us, even you. I'm scared he's gonna pull something wild." My gut clenched up. I got why Adam was raging, but that made him dangerous. Ashley's mind games had pushed him over the edge, and now his anger was a shotgun with no aim. This thing was nowhere near done. That night, sleep was a lost cause, worry gnawed at me non-stop. I was lying there, staring at nothing on the ceiling, when this loud, crazy banging on my door jolted me up. My heart shot into overdrive as I crept toward it, cautious as hell. I peeked through the hole. Adam was out there, pacing like a caged animal, his eyes feral. "Michael, open this damn door now," he yelled, pounding on it like he wanted to break it down. "We've gotta hash this out." Adam yelled, and a jolt of adrenaline shot through me like lightning. I froze for a second, every gut instinct shouting to steer clear, but something in me, maybe stupidity, maybe guts, pushed me to face him. I cracked the door slow, my heart thumping like a drum. "What's your deal, Adam?" I asked, keeping my voice careful, braced for whatever he might pull. He came at me fast, eyes red and wild, his breath stinking of booze. "You screwed up everything. Ashley screwed up everything. My wife's gone, my job's toast, my whole damn life, because of her, because of you." His fists balled up tight, and for a split second, I thought he'd swing. But under all that fury, I saw this broken desperation, a sadness I'd never caught in him before. "You picked your path, Adam," I said, holding steady. "I didn't wreck your life, you did that when you stabbed Natalie in the back." "No way," he croaked, wobbling a little. "Ashley suckered me in. She dangled this big future in front of me, but when it all went sideways, she shoved me under the wheels. She crushed us both, Michael." I locked eyes with him, his wrecked face staring back like a twisted mirror of my own mess. Even with all the bad blood, all the rage, we were stuck in the same boat, screwed over by Ashley's cold-blooded lies. Then, out of nowhere, cop lights cut through the dark, flashing hard in the driveway behind him. Somebody dialed 911 on Adam's drunken meltdown. He spun around, spooked, panic flooding his wild eyes. "No," he bellowed. "I ain't going back." Before I could blink, he took off down the street like a bat out of hell. The officers were on him quick, pinning him down as he thrashed like a trapped animal. Watching him fight tooth and nail against the cuffs, I didn't feel any victory, just this heavy sadness for the shitstorm Ashley had kicked loose. Next morning, my lawyer rang me up early, sounding way too chipper for my mood. "We've nailed her, Michael, she's toast. Ashley slipped up big time. All those threats she threw at you, the blackmail, plus Adam's side of the story, it's all locked down in black and white. The judge won't give her a dime, she's walking away empty-handed." A wave of relief hit me, but it felt off, kind of empty. Justice was rolling in, sure, but it came with a hell of an emotional tab. Later that day, I sat in court, watching Ashley across the room. That cocky spark of hers was finally snuffed out, replaced by this quiet, beaten-down look. The judge's words rang out, no alimony, no payout, every claim shot down, and I kept my eyes on her. Disbelief hit her first, then panic, then this boiling rage. She whipped around to face me, her voice quivering with venom. "You call this fair, Michael? You think you've beat me?" she hissed, spitting bitterness. "I'll hate you forever for this." It was a hollow threat now, just a last-ditch grab at control. I held her stare, this unexpected calm settling deep in me. You built this mess, Ashley, it's all yours, I said, even and sure. Humiliated and out of moves, she stormed out of the courtroom. For the first time in months, I could breathe easy. Ashley's threats had crashed and burned for real, the truth had won out, her lies smashed under hard proof and karma's boot. Stepping out into the sunlight felt like some big metaphor. I was banged up, carrying emotional scars, but tougher for it. Ashley's betrayal had stripped me bare, forced me to start from scratch, but I came out with this clear-headed strength. I'd made it through the ugliest hell I could imagine, and I was still on my feet. But I knew one last fight was waiting, facing myself. She was gone, her hold on me busted, but the real challenge was still ahead, letting go of the guilt for trusting someone so vicious. That's when the real healing would kick in. Once the dust settled, life eased into this strange, unfamiliar calm. The tornado Ashley had whipped up in my world was over, but it left a mark that wouldn't fade. Months drifted by, full of me looking back, piecing things together, and swallowing the hard stuff. I ditched our old house, those walls were soaked in too much bad blood, and grabbed a smaller place near work, a clean slate where her bullshit couldn't touch me. One night, while I was digging through the last moving box, I found it, our wedding picture, shoved way down at the bottom. My chest tightened up, a quick flash of anger spiking before it dulled into this quiet, nagging hurt. I looked hard at Ashley's grin, those sparkling eyes full of a joy I now knew was fake as hell. Slow and steady, I ripped that photo into little bits, letting them flutter down into the garbage can. That part of my life was done, shut tight and locked away for good. Time dragged its feet, but bit by bit, I started patching myself up. After a while, Natalie and I ended up buddies, tied together by the scars we both carried, giving each other silent backup as we pieced our lives back together. Adam? He vanished from town completely, flattened by the mess he'd made. Word got around from some friends that Ashley was bouncing from one gig to the next, one fling to another, always chasing something good but coming up empty every time. Then one afternoon, almost a year after it all fell apart, my phone pinged with a surprise, Ashley's name on a text. That curious itch got me, so I opened it up. Michael, I'm sorry. Everything's gone for me now, and I see how awful I was to you. I don't expect you to let it go, just wanted you to know you deserved way better. I sat there, staring at her message, waiting for the old anger or bitterness to kick in, maybe even some pain. But nada, nothing hit me, no sting, no fire, just this calm, blank feeling. That's when it sank in, I was free, really free, not just from her but from all that resentment I'd been lugging around too long. I wiped her number off my phone, snapped it shut, and stepped out into the warm afternoon light. Looking back on it all, I figured out something. Ashley's viciousness had pushed me to find a toughness I didn't even know I had. Her backstabbing shattered the fairy tale I'd bought into, but in its place, it handed me some hard-earned smarts. Trust is gold, but you don't give it out blind. Love can fix things, sure, but only if it's real. Biggest lesson of all? I'd never again trade my value for somebody else's broken pieces. If anyone out there ever gets hit with a betrayal this brutal, here's what I'd say: storms blow over eventually, the ones who screw you over end up showing their true colors, and that's a gift, even if it hurts like hell at first. Skip the revenge plot, karma's got a way of sneaking up, usually way slicker than anything you'd cook up. Ashley's threats had crashed and burned in a way I couldn't have dreamed up, serving her a justice that fit perfect. Now, heading into whatever's next, I felt thankful, marked up and wiser, solo but free in a real way. The past was parked right where it should be, and for the first time in forever, what's ahead was all mine, wide open and damn beautiful.